It's like, I'm going to buy a bus. And literally a couple weeks later, I'm on my way to Seattle, Washington, picking up a bus and driving it back to Virginia Beach.
Most of the businesses fail because they run out of energy, more so than money.
It was a longer process than I anticipated. And again, there's things I had no idea what I was doing. Yes, this could take off because it's like something worth waking up to and like, oh yeah, if I start this business, there's a chance, with enough hard work. And if it's, a lot of luck too, if you get in front of the right people, it could take off.
The battle between who will speak first. Is it going to be Ryan Timothy, aka Timothy Ryan? The best of Ryans, or the best of Tims, I guess, or me. I guess I won today.
You did. Yeah, it's always one of those things. Yeah, just give it that second to make sure that the recording and broadcast is already it's doing its thing.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago we had a Tim. This week we have a Ryan.
Put those two together. That's great.
This
is wonderful. I love it. Unfortunately, West Virginia women's basketball team lost in the round of 32. So my prediction of them making to the Final Four has been access denied. But it's okay. On to the next year. And we'll see how it goes.
As you know, and as a Buffalo fan, that is my motto.
Have you seen the new bison? They're like 30 feet tall. They're holographs, I think. Holographs? Is that the right word? They're like, have you seen them outside? They're done.
No, I have not.
At the new stadium. Oh, they're monster. I saw them. They, I think they're 29 feet tall. There's 3 of them.
Wow.
So it's a herd of buffalo, which is, I guess, wait, is a bison a buffalo?
Well,
are they
a bison is a bison. So that's where a lot of people get confused, that they mistake the buffalo for being a buffalo, but it's in fact a bison.
Isn't that an oxymoron of some sorts? Like, it's not the Buffalo Buffaloes, it's the Buffalo Bills, but the Bills are in Buffalo, but the bison is not the bill, the buffalo. I'm even messing myself up, and I don't even. Are you sure it's not the horses? It's definitely not them. Lots of opportunities, I think, over the last 15 years. When did you get out of business school, Tim?
2011.
Okay, so about
date myself, yeah.
About 15 years ago. Back in the day, if you wanted to learn how to maybe start a business, maybe you went through a business school like you did. Maybe you were in a garage. Maybe you went through something like a Hatch or a launch pad back in the day, way back yonder, if we're talking about dating ourselves. But now there's technology that helps individuals really not only accelerate their business, but fully understand road mapping and kind of looking at it as a full picture in a nice kind of way. And we are here today with Ryan Dean, not to be confused with Tim Ryan Dean or Paula Dean, but Ryan Dean of Dreamer Made. Expected him fully to be in unicorn outfit. We do not see that today. My understanding is that that gnarly thing has seen its days and it's been retired, and I like that. What's the scoop? What's the scoop on the unicorn mask? Because back in the day, that was a thing that you used to wear everywhere, I feel like, and now
it's still around. It needs to be pulled out of stores for sure. But we started that. We went to an event in New York called Tech Day back in the day, and we wanted to stand out. And as you know, everyone loves unicorns, especially in startup world. They want that $1 billion valuation. So it was an attention getter. And a few people have mentioned it, but always when I talk to you, Zach, it seems to come up. So I will be sure to pull it out of storage here soon.
Are you the only one that was allowed to wear this thing, or has this thing been on multiple melons?
I didn't wear it. I've worn it, but I wasn't the one that went out there. Funny enough, we had a couple of people who were members of Dreamer Made and back in the day, and they were like a corporate type, and I never met them before when we went to New York City for this event, and they volunteered to help us. And they're like, I'll wear this unicorn costume for you and go around. And it's like 20,000 people at this event. And sure enough, they showed up. I didn't think they would. And they showed up with it was Karen Ald. So shout out to her. She showed up with her husband, Bill, and her nephew. and never met her before. She works at a big, Fortune 500 company. And here she was one day roaming around New York wearing this unicorn costume for us and repping Dreamer Made.
That tells me that Zach will not be putting that thing on anytime soon if it does come out of retirement.
He can try.
No. Tim knows me too well. That is an ungnarly piece of machinery. I don't even like to touch a door handle. Actually, I've gotten a little bit better about that over the years. But I don't know, you just got to think where are places that people have touched a lot and where do they not clean them? And there are some places that are just, I don't know. Some of my friends say if you don't clean your hands, that means you're getting more sterile or more adept to the atmosphere. I don't know if that's true, but I don't want to be anywhere near where that that thing is.
It's been sanitized, but yes, no, I feel you. It's not something you want everyone wearing, I'm sure.
No, absolutely not.
So for those that don't know, what is Dreamer Made? Let's dig in. Tell us what it's about.
Yeah, so Dreamer Made, we actually relaunched it. So back in 2015, it was one of my first ventures, and it was an online collaboration community. So it was really a place I always grew up having ideas, wanting to start a business, and I didn't know really what to do. So I was like, wouldn't it be great if there's a community where you could go online, basically put your idea out there, and other people could contribute and help you build it. And so we did that until about 2020, had some good success, but there wasn't a lot of structure behind it. So we closed it down in 2020 around COVID and just relaunched it last year, with all the explosive, ness around AI. We were really like, okay, this is a good time where we could utilize this. And we saw, there's a missing piece. What if we could use AI and leverage that to build out a framework? We can build out a roadmap for entrepreneurs. So you have a clear visual of where your business is and where it's going. And then on the other side, there's a lot of things missing with that. I mean, AI is fantastic at structuring things, but what if we could bring in human experts who actually build alongside you and come at those crucial points when you need them? Because AI is great. It can tell you, hey, you need a trademark, but you might not need that right away. You might need it eventually or not at all. But when you're going to file a trademark, wouldn't it be great if you have that human expert who's done it before versus trying to figure it out yourself? Even though our tools can help you do that, it's just nice to have that confirmation from a human who's been through it to say, yes, you're on the right track. I've been there before. Maybe wait on this, go for that later. But really just it's a roadmap for entrepreneurs to visualize their business and get human support.
Here we go.
I mean, you can't expect me to be I'm like, this is the
for the.
I don't know what
those
word
not
I want to
watching.
use.
We're looking at a picture.
I don't know what word is legally
a poolside
allowed to
picture
say.
with the unicorn helmet.
The thing looks pretty clean at this point. That had to have been early on in the journey of uni. Did the unicorn have a name? Did the mascot have a name?
It was never named, so it's still up for grabs. If someone wants to name, all right.
McDreamy.
Hey.
I think that's probably trademarked.
Probably.
Made Dreamy. I don't know. Anyway, that's it. Wanted people to see that since that was the craziness, the chicanery, if that's a word. I don't know if I've ever used that. Episode 300. Well, this is episode 303, Mr. Ryan Dean. Can you believe that?
Yep.
It took you into year 7.
That's awesome, you guys. That's awesome.
We'll get back into Dreamer Made stuff before, but you've done a lot with individuals over the years. From the 6 years with Dreamer Made that we were just talking about. You also helped put together a podcast for an individual who you and I both know. I can't think of his name right now, but Scott something.
Scott Wurzbacher.
Yep. And really helped see him get some success in that. And just generally, why do you think that some businesses and some concepts take off and some don't? Because everyone has an idea in some capacity, but only so many of them actually see the result that those individuals wanted in the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it really comes down to expectations and what you want out of it. Because I mean, for myself included, like I've gone into ventures and done things where I'm like, I know this isn't going to make me money, but I want to do this, which might not be the best way to go about it. And like for the podcast for Scott, I know that was a big thing for him. He wasn't going into it. I feel like when you go into something you want to, there's always a piece of you that you're like, oh, I hope this takes off and it becomes the next top podcast out there. Like that'd be great. But I think just having those expectations when you're going in is a big thing. Because like, if you have a full-time job doing something else, if you're not committed to putting in the time and the hours to make it, be the next Joe Rogan podcast or Fervent Four podcast, there's definitely, it's those expectations, I feel like, and the time that you can put in.
What's your thoughts to the folks that are just trying to leverage AI to take the easy way?
Well, what do you mean as far as take the easy way in business or starting a project or?
Well, I think just in the sense of like you said just a few minutes ago, and I agree with you, there still needs to be a human in the loop with this, and you have to have a human alongside. Some people think they can just press the easy button, let AI create this company, and then money is just going to rain from the sky, which, yeah, I'm curious what your take is. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe that is the case, but I would love to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think there are the exceptions, the rare exceptions. I mean, yeah, people see those success stories and they're like, oh, I turned on AI and I vibe coded my website. I, used AI to come up with a business plan or find the top product to sell. I mean, depending on the industry, I think there can be, and I mean, you see these success stories, but I think they're going to be short-lived for the ones that you see. I think you really just have to go back to the value you can, offer the customers at the end of the day. And that's even something we've talked about because, we don't want to just seem like, oh, this is another AI wrap product. And it's just, oh, we're going chasing after the hype. So, there are things on our end where we're like, okay, if AI didn't exist today, where would our business still exist? Like if that technology for some reason got banned, not saying that's going to happen, but if there was some legislative process was like, we're getting rid of AI, it's too dangerous, where would that leave our business? And I think the value still comes in at the end of the day of creating clear roadmaps for small businesses. So if we can do that with AI, it might be a little bit harder, but I think really just, yeah, some of these are everything so AI focused. I think they're going to be short-lived if that's their only selling point. And if they're just trying to use all these AI tools to do everything for them, it can get you to a certain point, but I think you're still going to have those core pieces of a business in place.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's just something about having some authenticity and having the human component to it that I think that goes a long way. And that if people try to skip that, and
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
coming from someone who loves to leverage AI as much as you can, just to start on second base as opposed to stepping into the batter's box.
Yeah, when
Not
did it go
everything
for
we
like everyone for so long was like, oh, this is a good first draft, and that was like the words that people used, and then all of a sudden it was like, nope, it's doing it, and it's like, I don't know what y'all's robots look like that are doing it that make it look like you can just do that, but like that's not the case. Like there's never anything perfect that I've seen. There's always something, whether it is just those dashes that people don't like or an emoji that you didn't want, or it thought it was a Wednesday instead of a third, like there's always something. And so if I just feel like people removing themselves from that is the wrong piece right now. And it's, when did that change? Because it was the draft thing, and now it's like, no, everything's fine. It's like,
But even with us, man, we strive for perfection. But at the same time, like we're still edgy, and we do make mistakes. And I think that there is the human factor about all that. I think is important as well.
Yeah, 100%. That's where when we were building this out, we're like, how can we make it where it's accurate every time to create a roadmap for different businesses? So if you have a landscaping company coming in for the first time, someone who's never started a landscaping business versus someone coming in making a bakery, how can you make it have the right data where it's accurate? And I feel like that's where that human component has to come in, because even though AI can get a lot of things right and you can code in and you can make everything perfect as best you can, there's always that small sliver of something going wrong where it's like, hey, I know AI is behind some of this, but wouldn't it be great if I could just talk to somebody that's been through this, or at least has the know-how? Maybe it's an attorney, it's a CPA, a graphic designer, whoever it may be, just to get a second look at this. Because I mean, that's the same for me. Like, I'll go in different LLMs and I'll be chatting with it on certain stuff, and it's telling me one thing, and I'm like, well, I know that's not true. Like, like you're telling me my pitch deck right now is going to raise, X amount of money. I was like, I know that's not true where we are. So it's like, let me go talk to someone who's been through it and who has raised X amount of money. And oh yeah, that it's more accurate. They're like, you're on the right path, but there's key things you're missing that AI doesn't always pick up, because it's those little nuances, and it's that context
100%.
that is key.
What was the word that Tim Bess and Recruit Military was using, Tim, that you'll know this because I can't think of it, but so like there's like the LLMs, like your ChatGPTs, your Crocs, your Geminis, etc., your Claudes, but then there's like your own system that, and maybe you know it too, Ryan, but like there's your own data points that now you're going off of that, so that you're less likely to have those hallucinations.
Yeah, I mean, essentially your own, I don't know what the word is offhand, but your own internal LLMs to make sure that, that you're not feeding other models. Maybe it's your own private model that you're building, but I can't think of the word off.
But you're using your own data points and information instead of feeding it off of, which would hopefully indicate why you wouldn't have all those like spaghetti, strands all over the place.
Yeah, I know another term that's being thrown around is tribe knowledge. So like, just even in the podcast world, like you guys have done over 300 episodes of Fervent Four, there's knowledge you have that other people might not have if they're starting out. So how do you get that context? ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, all these tools, they can tell you a general like flow of how to start a podcast, but there's those little pieces of knowledge that you pick up that's interesting that could change everything. You could be like, hey, we use StreamYard, this saves us X amount of time. Awesome. Whereas, ChatGPT might tell you to use something else completely. And just like the formatting and the release times, all these little pieces of knowledge, it's like, how do you get that and added into context to use? And that's an interesting area that we're working on.
Yeah. And it's really, really important, just because I just feel like so many people try to hit, they're always looking for that shortcut. And as founders, one of the things that I'm always preaching to people is like, you're either building credibility or you're losing credibility. So you need to do whatever you can to build that credibility. And if you're just relying on AI to do everything for you, I don't think that you're building the credibility that you need for that human element. I think it's super important to have that.
Definitely. Yeah, I think you can use those AI tools. Like, I think it depends. Like, having like with us with the roadmap, yes, you could use AI to build out your entire business if you can. But I think having tools like Dreamer Made to map it out, it's giving you that step up of, yes, I could go out and figure out how to do all these different things separately, but it's nice to have that. It's a little bit of a shortcut. Like, yes, I could go find out how to, get an EIN through the IRS website, or, there's so many different services. Like, oh, let me just go use LegalZoom. But I think it is nice to have that opportunity with some tools to get a leg up, to get started, because I think it does come down to the person as well. Like, that's why I've had a lot of feedback on when we were interviewing people starting out for the platform. They're like, well, it all comes down to the person. Like, if they're going to do it, if they're going to want to start this business, they're going to figure it out either way. Your tool's not going to necessarily do it for them, and it's not going to replace that drive. But I like to still think like, hey, we can give them a leg up. It might be something where they're working a 9 to 5 and you're just like, oh, I don't have the money right now to do this, but I've always wanted to start, a food truck, and I'm currently working at a restaurant. I have the skill set. Having something to look forward to, having that hope and that clear plan of, okay, I can actually do this eventually. I think that's a good way to use these AI tools, is getting a leg up that way, but not necessarily relying on it for everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, especially things that are the same thing over and over again. I mean, getting an EIN, I mean, that's a very simple
Or just,
process, you know?
or just like little things, but when you have a spreadsheet that has first and last name, or that's filled with a lot of information, and you can just have them rather than copy pasting all these different things. You I mean, just throw it into an LLM and have it do however you want it manipulated. I mean, like that's just a smart way of doing it. Um,
Yeah, but I'm sure you guys see all the time on ads and everything you get. I mean, there's services out there. That's how they make their money. It's that these people don't have the knowledge. Like if you've started a business, oh, it's free to get an EIN. It's very simple to get an LLC,
Right.
but there's all these services out there because they're banking on you not knowing and not wanting to mess up at those early stages where they take advantage of. It's like, hey, $500, I'll get you set up with an EIN, an LLC. It's like, it doesn't cost that much and it's very easy to do. So yeah.
And then they hit you every single year when it's time to renew it. I mean, it's just
exactly.
It's crazy. I mean, and they're really, really good at scaring the crap out of you. I mean, like the funny thing is when we start getting emails to renew like our SAM account, and and it's like that is something that is totally free that takes you. That is a perfect example. Hey, throw it into an LLM. I need to renew my SAM account. Give me the step-by-step instructions on how to do it, and then you just go in there in 5 minutes and it's done for the next year, as opposed to succumbing to the predators that are out there. But I think that you have it right, man. Human powered, not just AI driven. I mean, there's certainly a balance, and I dig that.
Yeah, we're excited about what's to come. I mean, we've gotten some great feedback on it. So yeah, it's just one of the things, we were like, let's, rather than focus on so many different options, let's narrow it down to small business owners. We're not really going after necessarily the VC backed startups. Let's focus on the people who don't really have that knowledge base. They might not be using AI as much. So that was even something we were considering. Like, I'm not sure if you guys have experienced this, but as soon as someone mentions AI, I feel like their just brain goes in a different direction with all these different things. But if you just remove that's what we were talking about. What if we just make it where it's, hey, this is building out our roadmaps, small business roadmaps for you to get a visual and not really necessarily mention AI, because at least for us, when we're going through stuff and different customers, as soon as you mention AI, there's all these even different factors that are coming in, like about, well, where's my data going, which is important. Water usage, all these different things are coming into play, or which LLM are you using, or are you building your own AI? And they're not going back to the product. They're focused more so on, how it's being powered versus what their problem actually is and how we're solving it.
You did, I believe you just said you had a lot of interviews with prospects, with customers throughout the process. I'm interested in how you were able to sift through that material and come to a conclusion on something. I tend to think that interviews important, customer discovery important, but my mom also said I was a great singer. And then when I went to try out for, chorus, the teacher was like, you're the worst singer ever. So like, I feel like people can be providing you more positive and irrelevant information and not really pulling out the credit card, if you will, and figuring out if they really will be a user. Did you guys do anything to try to eliminate the mom effect of that so that you can get real, so that you're not building something that ultimately is just going to be wasteful for you, your team, etc.? Like, what did you do to try to work through that?
Yeah, 100%. And that's where, I've been guilty of that in the past with some of my own products and ventures. You're like, oh, let's just build it right away. You're like, oh, this would be a great idea. Let me just start. You don't do that market research. You don't do that customer validation, and you don't make people pay with their, credit card. So we went back. So it was a little bit harder to find people who are starting a business, to find that starting point of, okay, are you looking to start a business? So we went back to our network of people who are founders, have started businesses before, and we interviewed over 200 of people in our network. And of course, you're going to get that mom effect. You're going to have some people that, because they're maybe their friends, their colleagues, they're going to kind of tell you what you want to hear. So we tried to make it as vague as possible what we were building. We were just saying, it's a tool for, if you were starting your business again, what's something you would like to see? What are some of the missing features? What were the biggest pain points and hurdles? And that found some success, but there's still that because they know you. So, we've released and we found some people, through LinkedIn and other sources, just trying to meet them and just doing some cold outreach as well. And the people that I gravitated towards were the people who said like, oh, it just sounds like a ChatGPT wrapper. I'd never use it, or like whatever you're building. Those are the people I like to talk to. I like to talk to the people who are like a little bit more negative, because I mean, those are the people I feel like definitely will, if they're going to use it, like they're going to tell you the truth and be really honest. I'd rather have that. So I like to chase the people who tell me no, because I feel like you'll just get some really good information there. But yeah, overall, I just think you have to be aware of that and not make all your decisions on the people saying yes. You definitely need to have them pull out their credit card.
Have you always wired that way?
What's that?
Have you always been that way, that you encourage the negative responses, or how did you build up that thick skin to encourage it?
No, definitely not. Like, I think most people don't like to hear no and don't like that negative response. But I feel like as you do this more and more, it's just, you realize that's the time waster. You don't want to chase the people who are just yes, 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 and then they're not going to sign up for what you're doing. You can talk to 1,000 people and they're saying, oh yeah, I love your product. But if they're not signing up for it and they're not your actual user, there's really no point. So I like to try to find the people who, I can see, I'm like, this person has talked publicly about wanting to start a business, but they, like, I check a year later, they haven't started a business. So what's the problem? What are they, why haven't they moved forward? And just trying to learn from those people. And some of them could, be negative, but yeah, it's just interesting to get different perspectives and try to get past those no's.
Yeah. I mean, you're a unicorn. Negative. Yeah. You're a unicorn in that sense. I mean, like, it's just so many people are afraid of that they will just, as long as they don't get a no, there's still a maybe. And like that will, as you said, that will just drone on and on and on and on. And it's like, get to the no, get to the yes. Mm-hmm. But dude, just being in the lurch like that, it's not good for anybody.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, imagine just hearing yes, you build the entire damn thing around it, then they don't buy it, and you're like, well, what the heck? And it's like,
yeah,
you if you're going into business and you can't handle the my baby's ugly effect, like, you should not go into business. Because once you fully find that individual, and then it's like, okay, can you do it a second time? Can you do it a third time? And it's just it's a really bad description of someone if they can't handle that. I mean, and the best food in the world, not everyone likes, and that's okay. Right. People hate Taylor Swift, but how much money did she make?
Right?
So it's like, you want both sides of that. Like, someone recently was asking me about, like, oh, this one company, all I saw was negative reviews. What do you think? I said, well, to be honest, usually there is the counter to that. Mm-hmm. So because there's not the counter, like, maybe that is telling something about that. Maybe they are actually, or if it's just positive, where's the counter to that? Where's the negative side of it? Like, you usually have a little bit of both, and then the real story somewhere in between. And so it's not.
And you got to decide who your customer is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. Because, like, for example, I don't know, I ran into somebody and they're like, hey man, your show, I like the show, but it's just too long. And it's just like, dude, it's an hour.
Yeah.
And if an hour is too long for you, then you're not the customer. But like the long form, that's what we want. We want to be able to understand who you are, Ryan, and what makes you tick. So that way, this is really a conversation for the three of us to have, and then the people that are interested in you to have. But you need to know that, dude, you're not my customer then.
Who was it? Was it Scott? Was it Scott Janney?
Janae, Scotty Janae.
Was it Scott? I bet it was. I'm gonna put $1 on Scott Janney. Nope, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was not.
But yeah, going back to finding the right customers, that's a big thing. Because even with us, like, I'm naturally a creator and I like to work on different things. So like, I wrote a little storybook just for fun. I've been in a couple products. I've worked on like local businesses and service businesses, and I can go a lot of different directions. And so I'm like, oh, there's other people like me who probably are like that, but I'm not trying to sell to people necessarily like me. I'm like, there's some people who just need help starting one business, a small business. That's where I feel like there's a lot of opportunity. And that's where we really want to make it where it's like, hey, don't spend, and like before you spend any money, you need to find out why you're even doing this. Like there's a heavy emphasis on, customer validation and market research, because that's where most people lose these resources early on, especially, most of these people have a limited resource when they start a business. And it's like, okay, how can we make it where they could just have that clarity of who their customer is before they start wasting these resources and chasing those shiny items. So yeah, definitely agree. Finding out your customer, like you don't need to sell to everyone because that's how you go broke.
Well, another thing, I mean, this is great stuff. What do you got there, Zach?
Ooh, Peacekeeper. Yeah.
One of the many cereal things.
One of the products, yes.
Dude, I don't even know if you know this. I have these like literally just sitting right next to my turtle collection over here.
Well, see, you need to have it in your pocket when you're going out. You need to be protecting yourself.
Look, dude.
Wrong
customer.
Have you seen these arms? Have you seen these arms? They are lethal weapons.
And that is nothing.
But with a Peacekeeper, it's just even more effective.
Well, what do we do about my caps, though?
I wouldn't want to be on the end of the kicking.
Exactly.
I mean, that's
exactly.
But I love this discussion because I think that on the other side too, if you're monitoring who your power users are and the people that you found that product market fit with, those are the people you want to sit down with also and say, hey, you're using our product, you are a power user. How are you doing this? What other things would you like to see? And then build your customer base from that aspect as well. I'm always really impressed when companies reach out to me. They're like, hey, we'd love to sit down with you for 30 minutes to find out how you're using the product. What things would you like to see next? And with that, then I'm like, then I become even more loyal than I was before. So that's something for founders to think about, monitor, and reach out to.
Definitely. Yep. And we've done that. And that's where we're changing some stuff as well. Because like I said, when we started this, I was like, let's make this where it can build all types of businesses. Like, let's just start with, entrepreneurship, which is still even a broad, horizontal. So it's like, let's break that down a little bit more, because John, who's one of my co-founders, John Fuller, which Zach, well, and we actually met through one of your groups back in the day. But that was his big concern when we started this. He's like, how are you going to make it where it's effective for the person building a product and then the person starting, a mom and pop shop, like a restaurant? It's so different. And that's what we're realizing now. It's like, so we're kind of taking a step back and we're like, because there's a lot of opportunities, when you start a business, everything's thrown at you. There's opportunities left and right, but they're not necessarily the best opportunities. It's just a lot of time they're time wasters, and people themselves are trying to make money. So it's like, there's a lot of people coming at us like, hey, would you like to do this for, VC, accelerators or, organizations, and just a lot of stuff we're looking at now with our core users who are using it. Like you said, Tim, is going back and interviewing them, the people actually using it and finding value. It's those people who don't know what a VC is. They don't know what an MVP is. They're not necessarily going for that big funding, and they don't see themselves, becoming the next unicorn necessarily. They're just looking at something, hey, I hate my 9 to 5 and I've always wanted to get out of that rut. I want to start something for myself. Those are the people we're trying to go for right now, is those new small business owners, and really give them value of, hey, this is how you do it. This is the resources you need. You don't need to go chasing all these other items. Find your core customer, offer a service, and get after it.
What's your business model?
There you go. Flip deck. Yeah. Old John Fuller product.
Yeah. Man,
I got everything.
Look, you got everything in there. Gosh.
I'm pretty sure I bought that book, the bus book too. I just don't know where it is.
Perfect.
That was your book, right? You're the like the kid on the bus, something?
That wasn't me.
No, was it?
Not yet. Really? I haven't written a kid on the bus book.
What book did you write?
King of the Road, How to Win at Traffic. It's the
okay, yeah, that's what I meant.
That one. Okay, it's a fun take on aggressive driving. That one.
Okay, bus driving, aggressive driver. Like
It's
what
close,
thing?
I guess.
I want to hear more about this.
That was a recent project. Again, one I went into with full expectations. It's not going to be a New York Times bestseller. Just went in and I wanted to create a storybook because I drive a lot in this area. I'm sure you guys know how terrible the drivers are here in the Hampton roads. And then I drive in Maryland a lot because that's where my wife's from.
Dude, they're
And
so aggressive in Maryland.
it's awful. And so when I'm driving, I was starting to literally, like, as a coping mechanism, I guess, start, doing these rhymes in my head. And I was like, I think I have an opportunity just to write a fun little book. And so it's basically like everything not to do as an aggressive driver, but in a fun way.
I dig it.
Yep.
I appreciate that you went into it thinking you weren't going to be a New York Times bestseller. Very hard to do. A lot of money is necessary and things like that.
Yeah, those expectations are important, and if you do it, I knew, like, going in, it'll be like a little gift I give to friends and family, I'll give to people. I was going to give it to people and put it on their cars, but that's dangerous, so I stopped that. I'm thinking right away.
Throwing at people that, you're in line with, that you're annoyed with. Yes. Bad driving. I get that. When it comes to those, though, I always try to advise people, like, hey, as a guy who's written a couple of books myself, it's like, what is your end product that you're trying to sell at the end of this? And a lot of people's answer is a target that I think is very, like, unobtainable. And it's like, hey, like, no offense, you have zero market right now. You anticipate being able to sell 10,000 copies of this day one. Unlikely with your current whatever, and you're not going to make $1 million selling this book this way because the numbers don't match. So I'm glad that you went into it like that. It's important.
Definitely. And yeah, that's with anything you go into. Like, I think it's important to have that big hopeful dream, of, yes, this could take off, because it's like something worth waking up to, and like, oh yeah, if I start this business, there's a chance, with enough hard work, and if it's, a lot of luck too, if you get in front of the right people, it could take off. And that's something great to look forward to. But I think just leveling it with the expectations of, maybe if it could just pay some of my bills, maybe if it could make me not be full-time and I can go down to part-time at my job where I'm not having to work for someone else every day of the week. I think those are reasonable expectations to have.
Well, I would like to give a shout out to Zach. You said something earlier this week that stuck with me, and it's super profound. And it was like, you said, I don't like to stress about things that are meant to be fun. And like, that is, I don't think enough people realize that, think about that. But like, and Ryan, you remind me of that as well, in the sense of, when you're out there having fun, like, that aspect of it is contagious, and that could be the thing that catches the fire that is going to bring people attract people to want to be part of that. So yeah, Zach, shout out to you. Not stressing out about things that are meant to be fun.
Yeah.
First shout out ever to myself. All right. We got, but look, what's why do this if you're not enjoying it?
Right. It's just like,
exactly.
Because when there are real stressful things, you should worry about those things, right? Don't overstress something. Don't overstress something that doesn't need to be stressed. It's just like, okay. And maybe, yeah, it's just, thank you, Tim. That was
life's too short. Yep.
No, especially right now. And Ryan and I were talking about this before we went live. It's like, man, we're in the throes of a lot of stuff that is happening right now, planning events, and these aren't small events either. We have State of Innovations getting ready to take place. That is, there's a lot of moving parts there, and signing contracts for future events that are going to take place. But at the end of the day, it's about having fun, and doing all this for the people, the founders that want to be part of what we're creating, what is being created. It's not like us creating it, but providing the platform for them to shine.
And it's a good excuse to get Tim Ryan's hair on stage one more time. Let's go, baby.
That's right.
Can you have a successful business in Hampton Roads?
Can you have a successful business in Hampton Roads?
Yeah.
100%.
What's it take?
I think it's definition of success too. I mean, that's one thing. One person's success doesn't match up to someone else's. I mean, my family, I grew up in a family business. So they've been in flooring and furniture for 30 plus years in this area out of Portsmouth. And I mean, they're successful. I mean, they're not out there multiple locations, but they have one showroom, pulling in a good amount of money every year, paying themselves a nice living. So yeah, I definitely think you can.
I mean, there's so much that goes into that. I mean, and Ryan, you touched on a lot of those things. It's timing and it's luck and it's grit. I mean, it is not going to be easy. It's leveraging people, leveraging tools. I mean, there's a lot that's got to go into it, and it's also maintaining the energy that you need to keep going. I mean, most of the businesses fail because they run out of energy, not more so than money.
Yeah. And that's like, especially with what we built in for Dreamer Made, I keep going back to it. We want to make sure before you spend $1, like you want to do this, and you kind of know you might not know the end goal. Things can change. Your business plan is going to change 1,000 times. But like, if you hate being in the Hampton Roads or like a fixed location, don't start a service business if you don't want to be stuck to a location. Like if my dad hated selling flooring and furniture, like maybe don't pick that profession. Or, if you don't like, having to run around to customers' houses, like you definitely have to understand that. And I think that's where a lot of people get burnt out, because they have this idea of, oh, I'll do well, then I'll hire on people to do it for me. I mean, that can definitely happen, but it's not going to be anytime soon. And then next thing you know, you're looking up and you're like, hey, I've been doing this and I don't enjoy it. So that's one thing I always try to tell people is like for me, I love to travel and I love to be remote. So everything I'm trying to build can be remote. I've had opportunities to do stuff locally with, businesses. And I just kind of shy away from them if I have to be local, just because of that one fact of I don't want to have to be showing up to the same place every day if I don't have to.
Yeah,
Tim, have you heard this?
Important.
Have you heard about this bus? Have you heard about this bus?
No, but I'm dying to get into this, man. And it's just like, man, and again, it's just like, that's the part of like, dude, just going out, having fun. Life is precious. Life is short. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. And so just seeing, you had mentioned that once COVID hit, you put Dreamer Made on pause, and then you just relaunched it again last year. What did you do in between there? And I think this is fascinating, and I want to hear more.
Yeah. So 2020, crazy time. I've always talked about, and like I have friends, I lived out in San Diego for a few years, and I always had friends talk about, wouldn't it be cool if we, bought an old school bus and we convert it, and we just travel around the US, travel around, go to Canada, go to Baja. And I was like, okay, yeah, that would be cool. And I actually, I was like, when I get an idea in my head, it's kind of hard for me to not follow through at some point. It might not be instantly, but like if I'm kind of set on something, I'm like, okay, I want to do that. I typically do it in some way or another. So yeah, it was 2020, COVID was hitting, and it was actually right after my grandpa passed away. And that, when you get hit with some of those moments, like you realize life is very short, and if you want to do some things, it's like, just do it. Like if you can, like find a way. So once that hit, my grandpa always talked about traveling more, and there he was, 90, passed away. I was like, I'm going to buy a bus. And literally a couple weeks later, I'm on my way to Seattle, Washington, picking up a bus and driving it back to Virginia Beach area. And I just started converting it. And it was a longer process than I anticipated. And again, there's things I had no idea what I was doing, but you just figure it out along the way. And yep, there she is.
What was the name of this bus?
Seats Taken. So from Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Seats taken, can't sit here. Yeah, it was fun. But it took, again, I thought it was going to be a lot faster. I thought I was going to knock it out in 6 months, the build, and then hit the road.
What type of conversions did you do?
So yeah, and this was, again, I had no knowledge at all. I just did a lot of YouTube research. Painted the bus myself, which is pretty cool. Never done anything like that. But yeah,
Oh
full
wow,
build
look
out.
at
I had a lot of help. It had a fully functioning bathroom, kitchen, oven, fully off grid, solar powered. A lot of the electrical I did not touch. I can't take credit
You
for that, 'cause that was
Airbnb'd
one
it or
thing.
whatever too, right? Whatever it was.
Yeah, Airbnb'd it for a couple years afterwards, after the trip. And that did well. But yeah, it was a lot
wow.
of fun.
So is that a one of one?
One of one.
Well, how'd you guys decide the paint color? What was that? Green?
It's like a ocean. I found a picture of an Aston Martin that I really liked, and I was like, wouldn't it be great to have like this shimmery blue on it? And I found some paint online from like this car paint store, and it was meant for literally like hiring cars. But it was like a budget site, so I didn't go crazy on it. But yeah, I mean, it's literally like reflective. It kind of has that sheen to it, which is cool.
And then at some point you decided you were done with it. It's time to offload. You make the sale of it. Still think you should have done some sort of like a documentary of the entire process, documenting the entire process of it, whether that be video, images, a little bit more. I know I've told you that before, but pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
If
Was
I-
offloading it pretty easy? Was someone really was a lot of
Yeah,
customers for something like that? What was that like?
Yeah, and if I would have documented it, it probably would have taken double the time. So I'm glad I didn't. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and offloading it wasn't too bad. Putting things out there, especially something like this, it's completely custom. There is an audience for it. It would have definitely sold for more during COVID, because that's when a lot of people were traveling more and trying to get out of the house. But yeah, it was fairly easy. It's funny. The guy who bought it, I thought I was getting scammed, because of course, he reaches out to me on Craigslist, and he says, I live in Puerto Rico part of the time. I also live in San Francisco, but right now I'm in Colombia, and I'm planning to take the bus through South America. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, can we do a call? And I'm like, okay, if he shows up for the call, maybe he's legit. But like looking through everything, I was like, this has scam written all over it. But turns out he FaceTimed me. He's in Colombia. He was traveling. And yeah, a couple months later, he came and picked it up, and he's now in South America, which is pretty awesome to see.
Wow. Was it part of the contract? Is the bus still named Seats Taken?
That was, yeah, no, he names are very big in the schoolie community, so it's very personal. So he changed it. It's called Ride the Dash, which is kind of cool, because the dash being the dash between the day you were born and the day you die. And so the whole thing is like making that dash count, which I thought was
That's cool. Yeah.
cool name to put on it.
Yeah, that was a thing, slogan, if you will, that called living your dash. But the same kind of concept. Like what impact did you make on the world between the day you were born and the day that you left the world?
Yeah, so it's been pretty cool to see, because we didn't get to go to South America or anything like that. We wanted to go to Baja, but we never made it that far. But yeah, he's down in Oaxaca a couple weeks ago, sending me pictures of the bus. It's crazy to see something you built is all the way over there in another place, which is it's crazy.
How did it get, like, what was the mode of travel or transport to get that thing to South America?
He took it from Virginia, drove it to Arizona, went through the border of Mexico. He went down. He took a ferry, I believe, like an 8-hour ferry. He sent me a picture of that, which was really cool. It's just, yeah, and hats off to him, because like it takes a special type of person to just kind of go for it like that. Some people talk about it, but like he did it, which is, it's just fascinating.
That is wild.
Especially when there's like better modes of transportation that are that
Well,
big.
I mean, I'm just thinking like, dude, I mean, driving through Mexico or whatever, man, like there's probably parts of Mexico you don't really want to be messing around with.
Yeah. For sure.
What an adventure.
Yeah, so check that out if you get a chance. It's pretty cool.
Man,
What's the best meal that you've the best place that you went to on the bus?
I don't know. Well, I guess there's different times when we got the bus, there's nothing in it when we first picked it up. And that was a cool experience. You're literally just picking up a school bus that it's a school bus inside. There's no place to sleep. It's just seats. And there are some pretty cool places, like in the mountains, going through Seattle, just seeing the coast, the Oregon coast, was a big thing. What else was there? I mean, I know when we actually got converted, some of my favorite spots were in Florida, just because we were lucky enough to be able to pull to some spots that were literally right off the beach that could accommodate our size bus. And just waking up, you have Wi-Fi, you have everything you need. That thing was not, I mean, it was literally like a little luxury house on wheels. We didn't skimp on anything. So yeah, definitely some of the places in Florida. Destin was nice. Just waking up there. Yeah, I love those beach
isn't that
spots.
called the Redneck Riviera?
I don't know.
I think I could be wrong.
I'm sure
Sounds
the
like a
bus
place I wanna
helped
go.
with that.
In America, one thing that's interesting is the adoption of AI is very different than other countries. It seems like it's very more negative than positive. Do you think that at some point that's going to turn? And what do you think it's going to be the turning point, if so?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know about who's using it outside the US and what the use cases are and what the sentiment is. I've been focused more on the US. I just know in general, yeah, I think there's a lot of fear behind it of, if you don't have guardrails, it could definitely get out of control, which I agree with. Like, I think there has to be, with any new technology, there has to be some type of guardrails and safety in place. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm kind of going with the flow, seeing what happens. And obviously, as new tools are released and new features are released, just seeing where it goes. It's just, yeah, it's something new every day. I mean, I'm sure you guys see it all the time. It's nuts.
Yeah, I think the biggest, at least it seems to me, the biggest fear is just the loss of jobs. And the thing is, though, it's just like, dude, we went from horse-drawn plows in the field to tractors. I mean, everyone had the same fear. Or the invention of the printing press. I mean, it's like, there's going to be more job. And I think, to your point, what sets everything up great for Dreamer Made is the fact that, like, hey, if there is some sort of displacement with jobs, more and more people are going to become entrepreneurs, and they're going to want to start their
100%.
own gig. And, so there's going to be a ton of things that we just haven't even discovered yet. But it's just like,
Yeah, it's a big opportunity, definitely, which is, I mean, you never want that to be the reason your product's successful is, oh, everyone got laid off, now they're starting a business. But I think it is going to become, a necessity for some people to become entrepreneurs. Like, there's certain people, like I have family members who work in government jobs, and every time there's, a government shutdown or something, they're like, what's going on? This isn't right. Like, I need to be doing something else. Or, I'm sure someone who's been laid off before, and they're like, oh, how did this happen to me? It's like, well, when you're putting your life in literally someone else's hands, like, anything can happen. You can be the best worker there is. You can provide all the market share value and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, like, I think it's going to push a lot of people out of necessity to finally become entrepreneurs. So yeah, we definitely see value there of how can we make this easy for them to step from that. Because, like, there's even people on here now. We had somebody that came on, and they're an engineer. They've been an engineer for 20 years, and they're facing the same problems that someone that's working a 9 to 5, at a restaurant, and they wants to start their business. They're facing the same questions. Like, well, I don't know anything about starting a business. I've never, filed for my taxes for a business. I've never handled onboarding for employees. I've never had to do X, Y, Z. Like, they're facing these same things, and they're intelligent people. So it's interesting to see that the types of people coming on, and I can definitely see there's going to be a lot of people going into entrepreneurship, but out of necessity.
well, and really, the thing is, it may not even be out of necessity. I mean, they may have, if they lost their job, it's a necessity, but it could be their true passion that hey, this is my opportunity that I've always wanted to do this. And if you get let go from a job, for example, and they give you, if you have 6 to 12 months of severance, this is your time to go and do that. And like, there's a huge opportunity. And you may, I would suspect, using a tool like yours, they're following their passion. They're going to be happier than they were before. And I don't know, so many people fear about worst case scenario, and the likelihood of that worst case scenario actually happening is very, very remote.
Mm-hmm. But I get what you're saying, Tim, and I get what you're saying, Ryan. But if the person wanted to start a business, they would have already started the business. So like, how do you, what needs to happen for them to really understand that door?
That's it, though. Getting, being displaced, or however you want to phrase it, that might be the little push that they need because of fear. And the thing, but like,
so then a marketing push on that says, "Hey, just lost your job to the robot."
Well, no, I mean, just in the sense of like, so many people want to have one foot on the boat and one foot on the pier, and if someone cuts the rope, and then you're like, all right, the pier is gone. It's sink or swim at this point. That I think a lot of people, they will overcome that initial fear because they are now in survival mode.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to people, like, I don't know if you've heard, like, people, they'll quit their job or they'll get fired, and that day they're not working at that job, they're saying it was like the possibilities. It just gives you a sense of freedom. You know, they're like, okay, like, especially the people who realize I'm not going to go back to that. Like, I get it. The 1 foot on the pier, 1 foot on the boat, like that definitely makes sense. But I think there is something freeing in that short time. You're like, you know what? Forget those people. You know, I gave them X amount of years of my life and did, you know, all this stuff for them. I'm going to do something for myself. I think if you can capture that moment and move towards what you want, like, it could be a passion, it could be out of necessity, but I think more and more people are going to realize, and they are starting to realize, hey, like, my job's probably going to get replaced in some form or the other, with AI or with other things, new technologies coming out. So it's gonna become interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. We just, going back to one of the things that you said earlier, Ryan, it was just like, man, before you start a business, like, one of the things that I'll ask people is like, before we even get to business runway, what's your personal runway like? I mean, it's like, can you afford to go 6 months without collecting a paycheck or generating any revenue? And the thing is, if the answer to that is yes, and you prepare yourself for that, then okay, maybe you can do this. And again, then going back to what Zach was saying, then you can have fun. It's just like, you can really go into this thing and not be so stressed out that people can sense that stress. And if you're nervous and you're like trying to sell out of desperation, people are going to run the other way from you.
100%. Yeah. You don't want to be in the position where you can't make your mortgage. And so you have to sell your services at a lower price because, to the wrong customer, or maybe someone you don't want to deal with, just out of desperation. 100%. So yeah, that's why, I mean, with Dreamer Made, that's a big thing. Like, I've been in the position before, like, I've been in jobs that I absolutely hated. I used to work in real estate, and literally the day that I got out, I was like, I'm done with this. Like, I was working in a real estate office. I was like, I'm going to do something else. I don't care if I don't make as much money, but it would have been better if I would have worked on the business while in the job, because you have that security. Because that's definitely fear can definitely be a motivator for sure. But if you can, that's the beauty of, like, with Dreamer Made. If you can sign up, it's a low entry, cost to have a visual of your business and where you want to go. That's one of the questions in there too. One of the steps is like having a budget. Like, can you actually afford this? Like, if you're starting a restaurant, yes, you can put $250,000, $500,000 easily into it, especially around here. But could you start? Do you have a small savings, or maybe you can put X amount aside from your income and start a food truck, or maybe you can do a pop-up. You can start smaller where you are and then, go from there. So that's kind of the whole idea, is using the resources you have to start a business.
Yeah, totally agree. And I shared that exact same sentiment last night doing a pitch class. And I was like, hey, before you have this brick and mortar restaurant, can you start with a cart and then move to a truck? And it just changes the dynamic of conversation. When you have a place like Donut Dugout, if you've not been there, shout out to the Donut Dugout. But like, if they wanted additional capital to expand, the narrative is easier for them in the sense of, hey, we open at 6 a.m. and we're sold out by 10. I mean, it's just like that. They have control of the conversation at that point because the demand for their product is so large that as an investor, be like, okay, cool. That's where are we going to open that next location?
But the interesting thing on this is where I think like people are so wrong about like a company like Donut Dugout. They're like, well, why don't you just open longer? It's like, well, number one, they're still, and I don't know this because I don't really know them, or I don't know them, but like, are you still having fun? What is actually the supply and demand aspect of that like makes it so that you want to go there? Like, oh, there's only so much. And I just remember like there was a donut shop on Granby Street by Hatch way back when. I don't even remember if either of you guys went to it. Paradise Donut. The guy was there 24 hours a day, and it sounded miserable. And it's just like slinging donuts. And it's like that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
So maybe this is the sustainable model that allows them to be able to do that. I mean, it's 12:01 right now. I'm sure they're sold out. If they're not, I'm shocked. And like it's good for them. And there's something special about that you have to go there early. I think more businesses should try to be.
But I'm sure that is one of the things that Ryan has with Dreamer Made, in the sense of, what do you want out of this thing? Do you want a lifestyle business? If so, that's great. And if you can have a lifestyle business only open 4 hours a day, more power to you. But like, not everyone needs to, and Zach, we talk about this all the time. Not everyone needs to be venture scale. And like, some people don't even know what that is. And they just say it because it's a sexy thing to talk about. But like, what do you want? What do you want out of this? I mean, that's really, really important. Stay true to who you are.
Yeah. Going back to that time piece, like the control of your time as a business owner is everything. And that's why I go back even to my parents. They've been in business for over 30 years and they are extremely busy. And they're finally starting to realize they can't do it 24/7. I'm like, you can control your time, like set your business hours to work for you. Like a coffee shop, that's only open 1 day a week from 2 to 3 is not going to do well. I mean, maybe it will in the right area if it's scarcity. But I mean, chances are it's not going to work. But you can still make the business work for you where you're not in it 24/7. And because, if you're burnt out, you're not doing customers any favors because it's going to be a miserable experience and they're going to pick up on it.
I'm hungry for an apple fritter right now.
And that's your fault. You did it to yourself. Have you been to Donut Dugout, Ryan Dean?
I have not, but now it's on my list.
1900 Granby Street. Get there, at 6 a.m., maybe 7 a.m. You'll be fine. Get yourself at least the 757's best apple fritter. It is absolutely a monstrosity, larger than the size of a regular iPad. And I'm not kidding. There's no fibbing around. That's not a Zach stat. That is an exact science, maybe 4 inches thick. That might be a Zach stat, but yeah, they're delightful. Speaking of food, Tim.
Yeah. What Ryan, do we have a food of the region? Do we have a drink of the region? We want to try to market this region as best as we can. Bring people in because they have to try or visit what?
Oh man. I'm at the oceanfront, so there's so many options. Gosh, to narrow it down. Prosperity Bakery, if you guys haven't been out there, I love that spot.
What's your item what's your go-to item?
I do sweet or savory. I mix it up, so depending on the day. But they have so many different items. That's the problem with down here. It's not a terrible problem. If you're watching your weight, it is. There's so many food options down here. It's ridiculous. So, and we always forget. We're like, oh my gosh, I forgot that place even existed. Like, remember we went there last year, and then we used to go there all the time. It's just so many places popping up. I mean, there's so many great places. We talked about it'd be great if we could get like a checklist of the places in the area and then just mark that you tried it. What were some of the reviews? Like, this was a great item, just to keep track for us. Like, okay, yes, let's go check that out again.
Yeah, it's and man, we're doing a little clinic with here in terms of business. But yeah, how do you stay top of mind so that you aren't one of the victim of, oh man, I forgot about this place. It
Right.
Man, yeah, because what Crush Fest was just was it last weekend? Weekend before?
There's Shamrock.
Yeah,
down
so it was
there.
the weekend before Shamrock was Crush
Mhm.
Fest, and
Okay.
that looked like it was pretty. I'll have to experience that once.
I
I
did it
hear it's
years back.
wild.
It was a lot of fun.
All right.
It's a lot of fun.
Any final words, Tim Ryan?
Not for me. I've enjoyed the conversation as we always do.
It's time to make dreams a part of your reality. Let's make dreams with Dreamer Made.
There you go.
See y'all. Thank you, Mr. Ryan Dean, Tim Ryan.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you guys.
Enjoy those orange
Pleasure.
crushes. Peace.
Later.
Have a good one.